there's a whole branch of movies and books called sci-fi, and it's based on science, and I really like it. And um, there are certain things that we kind of forget, right? And one of them really is what the Earth was like, when it was new, young. And actually, you can if I show you here, the Earth was like this, right? It was very hot, lots and lots and lots of volcanoes. This is a little bit over dramatic, but it's really cool. And the atmosphere back then was very different to what it is now. And this was about what 4.6 billion years ago or something. So this is the early atmosphere, and it was made up of um, mostly carbon dioxide, CO2, and water vapor. Now, it says water vapor, not water. Please don't put down water when if I ever ask you questions about it, because the real idea in my head is, God, can you imagine how hot that is living on there? It's so hot, the water can't be liquid, it's boiling. Right, there's no oxygen. Obviously, there's no oxygen because there's no plants. None. The plants would cook and burn. They'd not evolved. No life existed on the earth. All right. So you've got carbon dioxide and water coming out of the volcanoes. You've also got nitrogen coming out. A little bit of methane, which we've looked at, which is actually farts. That just sounds really horrible. And burps coming from cows, and ammonia with no cows back then. It's a very, it's a greenhouse gas. And ammonia. Ammonia's a really pungent, smells like urine. In terms of what the atmosphere was like, it's a lot like what Mars and Venus is today. So how did it change? Well, some really interesting things that you won't read in a textbook. The Earth started cooling down. Well, obviously, right? It cooled down so much that it started to rain. It rained incessantly for 2 million years, not day and night, and it just chucked it down. It rained. And when it rained, that made up 75% of all the water on the earth. The other 25%, and you don't need to know this, came from comets smacking into. There's a lovely picture there of either a very large volcano or a comet smacking into the earth. All right. So 25% of all the water on this planet came from outer space. Comets. Okay. So it changed things. So as it cooled down, things changed. The carbon dioxide in the early atmosphere that used to be in the early atmosphere dissolved. And one of the things I say to you guys, and I hope you don't drink too much fizzy drinks. I don't drink them at all, and neither do my kids, but that's a different story for a different day. But the bubbles in fizzy drinks is carbon dioxide dissolved. All right? Carbon dioxide dissolved in the water. And what happens is that when it dissolves, it can form something called carbonates. And we kind of looked at carbonate ions, CO3 2 minus in chemistry. I mentioned it a few times. We worked on it a little, but yeah, there you go, CO3 2 minus ions. Don't worry about it. I just say these things over and over again so you get used to seeing them. So that's a carbonate ion. So the carbon dioxide dissolves to form carbonate ion. And that's actually chalk. So we look at the White Cliffs of Dover made of chalk. It's these carbonate ions. So a lot of the carbon dioxide formed carbonate, which formed rocks on the seabed. All right? Now, and the other major difference, and a big one between the early atmosphere and now, is plants and animals. We're mostly plants. So now we still have a lot of nitrogen. It makes up about 80%, 79% of the atmosphere. Oxygen makes just less than 20%, just less than 21%, 20%. This comes from plants that are photosynthesizing. I say plants, but plants and algae. Photosynthesis. And algae are not plants, they are protoctistas, but that's biology. I'm missing an N out. Photosynthesis. Right? And that's where our oxygen comes. And carbon dioxide is really negligible because the plants have taken the carbon dioxide and used it for photosynthesis. The carbon dioxide dissolved in the ocean and forms, rocks like chalk. And you've got other gases in the atmosphere, but the one I'm going to highlight is argon. 1% of the Earth's atmosphere is made of argon. Right. So that's the Earth's atmosphere. The early Earth's atmosphere, carbon dioxide was very high. There were no plants. It was too hot and they would have got cooked. Now it's very low because it's dissolved in the oceans. There was no oceans in the early atmosphere. It was too hot. Remember what I said? It rained for 2 million years. Because there was no plants, there was no oxygen. Nowadays, we've got about 21% oxygen. Nitrogen was a little bit of nitrogen, but now there's lots, there's about 80%. Water vapor in the early atmosphere, there was a lot because it was really hot and, it was way over 100 degrees. And you had lots of steam and things. Now it's very low because the Earth's cooled down and all the water's now trapped. Well, not trapped, it's in the oceans. All right, sweethearts, that's the early atmosphere. That's what the early Earth looked like. You know what I'm like. I think recall is the best way of learning. 10 easy, 10 medium, 10 hard questions. Let's enjoy. That was fun. Oh, let me stop recording.